So I guess we can start. Welcome everyone. I'm Dennis. Uh, can anyone confirm that you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So, well, I'm Dennis. I work as a front-end engineer at Wix. I also maintain a few open source projects, mainly in the area of JavaScript, dev tooling, and smart homes. And also, I organize a few local communities and this Twitter space. So, what is this Twitter space about? We, with some notable open source developers from Ukraine, decided that it's important to share our stories about our first 100 days of the war. And we have already had a Twitter space like that before, 2 weeks into the war, and you can find a link to the recording in the attached tweets under this space. It's an area about about the speakers. So just you can this carousel you can swipe and find a tweet with a link to the recording. And this space is being recorded as well, and I will publish the recording on my YouTube channel in the upcoming days. You can follow me or other speakers. We will definitely post a link to the recording in the upcoming days. The primary goal of this event is to spread awareness about the events that are unfolding right now, and moreover to keep the war on the agenda, because you might get used to the news, but you should keep in mind that people are still suffering, and that's actually people's lives and our lives. And I hope that stories from people you follow in Twitter might uh, might get you uh, closer to the events, and you will understand clearly that uh, this is life and people are still suffering. Twitter spaces are limited to 10 speakers, so we will not accept requests to ask questions. If you want to ask a question, you can ask in my direct messages, and I will ask our speakers. I will be a moderator of this space, and Alexei will help me to do so. So we will start with introducing ourselves. I've already said a few words about myself, so I will pass the word to the Alexei, and then we will go on to the other speakers just to quickly introduce ourselves, and then we will answer your questions, and then we will share our experiences. So let's start with introducing ourselves. Alexei, go on.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Alexei. I am a software consultant, and I also do open source. If you are part of the .NET open source community, you've probably heard of some of my projects or have used them even. Apart from that, I also am from Ukraine, so the war that has unfolded recently touched my life very directly, and I hope I can talk about it today and share some personal insights. That's it for me. I guess I'll choose the next person to introduce themselves, Sviatoslav.
Hi, I'm Sviat. I'm also from Ukraine, obviously. I maintain some of open source projects, mostly in the Python space. And I also work for Red Hat, so I maintain another open source project called Ansible as a part of that job. it. So the next introduction would be my screen just died. Name somebody
Yeah,
else, please.
let's go on with Vladimir.
I don't think we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, Zoltan.
Hi. Yes, I'm here. Hi, I'm Zoltan. I'm the maintainer of PNPM, the JavaScript package manager, which is getting pretty popular in the last 8 to 10 months. But it's not a new package manager. I maintain it for the last 6 years. And also I work at Bit. I work with package management there as well. And I live in Ukraine. I was born and raised here, and I live here now as well. That's it. Next one, Vadim, probably.
Hey everyone, my name is Vadim. I'm as I said in the first stream a few months ago, I'm the crazy guy who brought React to the terminal. You might have heard of this project called Ink, and I also built a couple of Mac OS apps on the side, like Lotus and Rosefinch. Those are not really popular, so you may not have heard of them. I just mainly work with React or JavaScript, but the Ink is probably why you may have seen my name somewhere or not. I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Anastasia.
Hi everyone, good evening. So my name is Anastasia and I'm a security engineer, and I feel like a white crow right now because all of you are doing some things and I'm only breaking things. Well, no, I'm joking. I'm also doing things. I'm maintaining some cryptographic libraries, some open source as part of my job, and I'm like releasing lots of educational materials about security engineering and data security. Yeah, really boring comparing to others. And I work in cybersecurity company, and we heavily involved in everything that's going on. So I won't be able to answer most interesting questions, saying this is classified. But yeah, what I can tell that the war is ongoing, and it's not like only physical war; it's a cyber war also. So there is a lot of things going on right now, and I think in the news we see only like 1, 3, 5% of what is happening. Right. Let me pass it through. Volodymyr, are you ready to speak already? Let's try again.
Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah,
Yes.
we do.
Yes.
Finally.
Hey, sorry for that. Just some technical issues. So I'm Volodymyr. I'm like part of open source community for quite some time. I do a lot of different research projects, and I prefer to share them on my GitHub. So I'm the guy like that is into hardware. So I do a lot of like hardware-based projects, mainly with open source, community-driven platforms like Arduino, Particle, or stuff like that, or Raspberry Pi. Maybe you heard about it. So actually, like I was impacted by a war in a particular way. My house was burned down completely by Russians when they entered Irpin city. So I'm currently like trying to find another place to live in the country, and just settled in the west of Ukraine. So pretty happy because it just happened. So I'm trying to rebuild my life, and yeah, it also impacts my open source projects as well. We'll talk maybe more about that later. Thanks.
We will definitely. Well, we can start with the first and the most important question of the space is what have you learned during the first 100 days of war, and what happened to you that didn't...
Sorry, I think I didn't introduce myself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you finally joined. Yeah, you had
I think
some.
at the moment you asked, I was reconnecting. Sorry. My name is Michael. I live in Kiev, and I maintain open source projects which are about testing. So it's for developers, but for testers as well. And one of them is in PHP space. It's Conception. It's very widely known in the PHP ecosystem. And the second one is concept.js, the one when I tried to bring my experience in testing into the JS world. And now I maintain both of them. They're pretty successful in their own areas. And I'm really glad I have these two children of mine. So currently I'm in Kiev, and the city is getting back to normal. And so far, I don't hear the signs so far, except the sirens in the morning. So I'm pretty relaxed, but probably I shouldn't be. Yeah, that's all. So what's the first question?
Yeah, what happened to you during the first 100 days of war? What have you learned? Maybe you learned something new or changed the way of thinking about stuff.
Yeah, I think the most important what I learned that the most important in your life is friends. So because in case when there's something terrible happens, you if you have friends, you can get with them anywhere. So with my family, with my friends, we moved to Uzhhorod in just a few days after the war started. We left Kiev and moved to Uzhhorod, and we left there. 7 person lived in one flat, in one room flat in the center of Uzhhorod. 7 people, 2 childs among them, one dog, and we were like a big family, and it was absolutely very I would say very good times to stay together in these dramatic moments. Then I moved to my other friends and lived there. So the next thing I learned that, well, actually, you can live with a backpack, and that's all you need to survive. So if I'm pretty lucky that all my belongings were not bombed, I have my house still in Kiev. It survived. But in case something happened to him, I wouldn't even say that I would miss something, because yeah, I just got too used to live with a backpack, and that's all. So I had my family to move to Germany. My mom is in Switzerland. So I'm just living my new life, and I'm really thankful to my friends that could host me all this time, and that I wasn't alone. And so being together is one of the important things in these dramatic days. Who is the next?
Thank you, Michael. Anastasia, would you like to go next?
Wow. I would put it this way. I learned that, again, as I work in cybersecurity, right, I learned that right now we are living in a totally different like threat landscape, and things that right now we should keep in mind are very different from previously, because previously when people worked with security, especially software engineers, they might think that okay, just something we will eventually do. But right now we are facing like real threats, especially with all these applications and chatbots that Ukraine is using to collect information about like Russian forces, right? Any application right now could be a source of danger for people, for civilians, because they can make pictures, they can share pictures, they can say something to somebody, they can use all these insecure ways of communication. So all these threats that previously were just a thing of like regulations or things like GDPR, right now they are more valuable, because it's not about regulations, not about standards right now, it's about literal people's lives. And when doing something, when creating software, right now we need to keep in mind that what will happen if it's not secure enough, because like real people can get in danger. What will happen if like real missile will hit the data center? What will happen if this like if our engineer responsible for something will get will stay in occupied territory, or what is more, you know, what is more cruel will get killed. You know, like the values are totally different right now, and sometimes it's very complicated to think about all of these, because it's very unusual. Let's put it this way, and everyone can be a next target, you know. Even we sitting in these like west cities, or like sitting in peaceful, kind of peaceful Kiev, right? Not talking about those missiles 2 days ago. We can be the next target, so it's kind of our responsibility to ensure that at least other people won't get hurt if we will get hurt. Sorry for a little bit of like dark thoughts here. Let me pass it to Vladimir. Can you please tell us more about your pool house?
Yeah, sure. So, well, like, it's like 100 days of war passed, but for me, it doesn't feel like that. I mean, it's like all the same all the same day, I'd say. So, for mostly, I'd say that what I learned, or maybe any insight that I got during this period, is that I don't know, the family is the most important thing in my life. Maybe that I have 2 children, and when we found information, like I was actually doing some OS int research to get more understanding what happened to my house, and then when I realized, like, I found some satellite images through some open channels that hinted that the house is burned down. I was a bit shocked, but I like, after maybe a few hours, I realized that it's a great luck that we were not there, and I was actually able to visit the spot a few weeks later, or maybe like 3 weeks later. And when I arrived, I just realized that if we were there, we would be like dead, because like there were a lot of signs that it was just enormous blast, and probably no one would survive. Like anyone who was in that house would be dead. So then I like very clearly realized that we are all under this constant threat, and like you are living with this threat every day, and we have to deal with it. I mean, like, everyone is under danger, and we were just lucky to survive, and that's it. Also, I realized that you need to basically track your feelings, and you need to listen to them. You need to do whatever your soul says. And actually, I had this feeling that something bad is going to happen, and that's why we left our home a few weeks before the war started. So yeah, that's all I'd like to say now, and maybe I'll tell more when answering other questions. Yeah.
Okay, Svetoslav, do you want to take it from here?
All right. So, what did I learn? Well, I don't know. So, being physically outside of the country when it all began, I guess, gave me some advantage of not having that kind of stress that most people were under. But on the other hand, I've got a lot of other kinds of stress. I've learned that well, the world is able to support Ukraine a lot more than I did anticipated, which is a fun thing to know. What else happened? I mean, I've got to communicate with the intelligence because some days after that previous space, my mom and my brother got to leave the village that they were staying in, and they traveled to me. And the day they arrived, we lost all of the contact with all of our relatives in the village for like a day. And a bit later, we realized that it was occupied. There was no electricity there, no communication, and stuff like this. Sometime later, my grandma somehow managed to hide her phone and contacted other relatives and passed some news that, hey, there is a tank in front of our house, pointing at it. And well, there was also my grandpa and my brother, my other brother, and my father, and they were all there. They faced the Rushists. They had a chance to talk to them. Well, my brother lost his phone to them, and I don't know. It was quite scary not being there, and sometimes not knowing if they're alive. And I sort of discovered this part of myself that is getting more scared when I don't get the information, because we used to live in a very well connected world, right? And what happens when you lose all this social contact and don't hear anything from your loved ones? It's pretty terrifying. So yeah, it's not been fun, but it's better now since they've been liberated and they're not dead, sort of. The house only got shot in a few places, like it wasn't burned down like the neighboring ones. Yeah, so because of this, I guess I'm sort of limiting myself and like trying not to look into the ongoing news as much anymore. It's just so stressful. I guess that's what I wanted to say.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Do you mean
Yeah.
lost their your brother lost his phone to the
The Russians were like, yes, they were going house to house and taking away people's phones. And like my relatives got to hide a few of those, but my brother had to give his to the Russians. And then I was trying to hint the intelligence through the chatbot, and then through communicated over more secure channels like Signal, and passing the bits of the information to them as I was receiving it, because they were able to send some like a minute long messages, but yeah, it was mostly dark, as in radio silence. Yeah,
That's strange. Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out why would they do that?
Oh, they did.
Because they
If you
didn't
remember,
want
in the
to.
first days, they arrived. Most of them arrived without phones or similar ways of communicating. So they needed to take somebody else's phones. Plus, they needed people not to report their position and stuff. So basically, they collected everything that had a communication, yeah, basically any communication devices.
Yeah, got it. Anyone else?
Yeah, I guess I can go.
Yeah, go on.
So, yeah, I've been blessed to basically have a limited real world experience with war, because I was lucky enough to drive out of Kiev the first day. We did see a couple bombs arriving nearby our road, but that's like I used to think, like when we had this first stream, I used to think like, oh shit, that was terrible, such an awful experience. I don't. It's not that I don't think that anymore, but it's kind of like when put into perspective of what happened afterwards, all these months, I don't have the guts to like keep bringing this up and like complain like this is nothing compared to what happened to other people. Uh, what um, what I learned? That's a tough question because there are so many answers, but I guess the one I keep thinking, like the one point that I keep coming back to and keep thinking about all these months is how many great, like kind people with good heart are all over the world, both in Ukraine and nearby and far away, like on different continents, that genuinely care about what is happening here and do their best to help. That was wonderful to watch and feel like, okay, we are not alone on this, and there are a lot of people who are going to help until we win this thing. And the examples, like the amazing stories that I've seen in 100 days now or more today, is is just a lot. Like it ranges from examples uh, like there's my favorite cafe in Kiev, which I used to go like literally every day, like from Monday to Friday, and they have like a very tiny team, like 4 people, and they are cooking lunches uh for like everyone since the beginning. So it's like 3 months, day to day, they're cooking like 400 lunches every day, and they keep doing that, and people keep donating money to that. That's wonderful to see. There are people who to this day like still like drive humanitarian aid, food, clothes, all that stuff, like to very remote regions, not completely safe, and they keep doing that no matter what. They kind of put their lives aside to keep doing this stuff. Uh, I've learned about all of the amazing volunteers from the nearby countries that helped, and I think still, like they keep helping people on the border crossing. And I've personally, like from very close people, I've heard their beautiful experiences of meeting those people and talking to them. Um, yeah, I can keep going, and I will probably not remember like even not 10% of these beautiful stories, but that's kind of what keeps me in good shape, knowing that a lot of people do not give up and they still continue. Um, and yeah, I think it's very important. Like I determined, like for me personally, it's very important to set the right focus, because yeah, you could, like there are also like a lot of awful examples of I'm not gonna say examples of what, but yeah, there is also some terrible things going on, and I don't mean the war. This is obviously like the focus number one. I mean like people who are trying to like take advantage of the situation, or not being open and like welcoming to people even inside Ukraine. So I decided to not focus on that, because there are always going to be some negative sides to any situation, to any story. So instead, I'm focusing on the positive, on the beautiful side, and trusting and believing in those people, believing in the future. And yeah, that's a long answer. Well, what else? Oh well, and yeah, I guess it's gonna sound probably kind of cliche, but uh, I think probably like most of us now definitely appreciate and know like the value of the life everyone got, like we all got. And there were like so many things I wanted to do, but I was like, there's plenty of time. Like I'm gonna do it next year. I'm gonna do it in like a few months. No, like and I'm speaking like to everyone in this space. Like if you want to do something, please, God, go and do it now, tomorrow, but don't postpone it to somewhere, to some long undetermined period of time. So yeah, like just live your life. Like that's I think the most important thing. And it's funny because like before war started, like for years I've been unsuccessfully battling procrastination, and I had like a lot of issues with like discipline, focus, and all of that. I do not remember what it is anymore. Like I don't know what is that, but I am working from morning to midnight every day, and I don't have any thoughts of like, oh, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. No, like I'm gonna do it today. So yeah, that's a few points that I wanted to bring up.
Thank you, Vadim.
That's actually one of my personal insights, because you know, when I was reading books about the wars, like books of Remarque or Orwell or Hemingway, I was always wondering how people can live normally, like visiting cafes or meeting friends when it's freaking war raging in their country. And now I'm like, oh, that's how. Yeah, people can live everyday lives during war because you understand that your time might be limited, and you decide to treat yourself better, or wear a better clothes than you might want to wear, or you decide to buy yourself a cake all of a sudden because God knows when you can taste this cake another time. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. But there's also one important side of this, I think, is to like, yeah, you should definitely continue to live your life. But like, I'm not talking to you exactly, Dennis. I'm just like talking in abstract. I mean, because I see this in kind of the close people that I'm in touch with, and I see that a lot of the people started living, basically continued living their life, and they kind of forgot and put aside that there is a horrible war raging on the east and on the south of our country right now, because we live in a city where you honestly do not feel that anymore, besides like air sirens, which let's be honest, like everybody's got used to, and nobody really pays attention anymore, at least in this part of Ukraine. So I think it's important, yes, like live your life, do the things you want to do, get that damn cake, like eat it like all at once. Like I fully support that. But like remember to be helpful, remember to still contribute whatever you can, and I'm don't just mean like financially contribute, but literally anything you can do to just make to just add 1% to the cause, like to winning of this war, to people who desperately need your help. I think that goes a long way, and it kind of um, I think it's like it's super important right now to just keep the balance here. Do not forget. Do not put things aside. Because I do notice that there is an ongoing problem with that, where people have literally like moved on. Fortunately, not a lot of them, but still like a considerable amount, at least in my circle.
And it's actually quite scary to consider how easy it is to come to terms with the fact that there is a war going on in your country, and just like stop thinking of it as something special and just go about basically living your life. And I think like a lot of the times when I like stop to think about it, it's actually quite surreal, because a lot of the things that I'm doing right now are not normal at all. Like, you know, hiding from missiles and bomb shelters. Not that I do that every day anymore, or like, you know, prepare for power outages that happen a lot, or the fact that I have to like accommodate for the products that I'm used to buying from stores not being available because of the supply issues and things like that. And even like in Kiev, which a lot of people have already returned to, it's a functional city at this point, but there's still a lot of remnants of war that remind you that this thing is still not over. Like you can walk around the streets, you would see tank block posts and stuff like that. You can see sandbags, patrols, a lot of armed people, things like that. But you kind of just get used to it and don't pay attention to it as much. And also, I think it's like from my perspective, things I've learned, because I don't think I've replied to that yet. I have to say that you can sort of expect that war is something people have already experienced in different parts of the world, but nothing can really prepare you for it. You will never know what exact items or things you'll need to buy, or like when you need to react a specific way, or like whether you'll know for sure whether you need to evacuate or not. All those things, there's just like no way to know for certain what they're going to be like. And so you have to act on instinct a lot of the times. And the thing that helps with that is having people around you, either friends or just random other people that share the same fate and go through the same problems. Because it's kind of like, I don't think I'm handling war particularly well, but looking at other people go through it as well and handling it better gives me inspiration to do better myself, which I think is what helped me maintain my sanity for the most part. I guess that's what I learned myself from it, and I think Zoltan still haven't shared his point of view.
I don't have a lot because I'm quite distanced from the war. I live in Uzhhorod, which is the place where a lot of the people ran away to from the war, because it's behind the big mountain range, behind the Carpathian Mountains, and we had only one missile strike at this region, which is actually pretty far away from Uzhhorod. Uzhhorod is actually at the Slovakian border, exactly on the border. So I think there's a really small chance that an attack will happen here. But in general, I think what surprised me the most is how barbaric the Russian army is. I mean, I knew that they are not very civilized, because we of course have this war ongoing for like 8 years or so. But I wasn't expecting this level of inhumane actions, and I think it changed my view on what would be my actions if I would be near a conflict zone. In the past, I always thought I would just hide out, but this war has shown that probably you have more chance to survive in the army than being a civilian. Anyway, so yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I would like to share my insight too, if you don't mind. I already said that one of my insight that people are trying and can live everyday lives during the war, and they are trying to make their life normal as hard as they can. And another insight is that during the air alarms, when we were hiding in our shelter, I suddenly realized that I or my beloved ones can easily die. It's a matter of like a chance or luck, or I don't know. And sometimes I'm imagining that, and I'm really scared of it. Yeah, and Yeah, and because people can't live in a permanent danger for long, people are getting ignorant of their own safety. And now you can see bizarre things like the sirens roaring, and at the same time, people are walking in the park. I can explain that because I also stay in a relatively safe region, and yeah, people are ignorant because they don't think that the missile will hit specifically them or their house, because they're explaining, for example, I'm explaining that to myself, that like no one will send a multi-million-dollar missile to strike a private house. And yeah, but actually that actually happens. You know, there was an event in Zaporizhia region where Russians struck a toilet with a missile. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not encouraging, but in the night when I hear the siren through the window, I sometimes decide to sleep instead of going to shelter, and that's not right, I guess. But a lot of people do that, to be honest. And another insight for me is that I finally understood the trauma of the older generations of Ukrainians. You know, you can confirm that. I bet that from our speakers, a lot of their like parents or grandparents were always preparing for tough times, like preparing food or storing pickled vegetables for winter, or always having some flour to be able to bake bread at home, etc. And now I'm also beginning to store like the diesel fuel in canisters, because right now we have a terrible shortages of fuel. For example, I've spent 4 hours yesterday in the line to the gas station. Also, I always keep my cash in the wallet. I always carry documents in a waterproof bag. I always have a flashlight with me, and so on and so on. Yeah, so yeah, and another point, I guess, is that I finally understand that this war is gonna take a while, and the rest of the world will not care, and people from around will get used to it, and no one pay attention to the news. So yeah, that's unfortunate, but I guess that's true. At the beginning of the war, I was hoping like it's for 2 or 3 weeks, and that's it. But now I guess everyone understands that it's for long time. Yeah, so I would like to ask you, how is your work-life balance? Have you had time to work on your open source projects? What is your progress with that? And have you have any plans? Speaking for myself, I was able to spend some time on working on the spaceship prompt point version 4.0, and I'm still working on it. I use it besides the work. I use it as a distraction for myself to stop reading news all the time. But yeah, the war goes on, and my work is continuing, and I hope I will release the future major version soon. How about your projects? Can anyone pick up?
I think I can. Personally, I'm maintaining a few projects, and I had to put everything on hold mostly. I'm focusing on things like basically on those projects that I'm running like a business. So some of parts of the business that I'm running are also contributing to open source. So basically, I'm currently focusing on those parts that can bring money, right? So because I feel like an obligation to get more money into Ukraine, and basically I'm also supporting a lot of initiatives here in Ukraine and doing a lot of hardware related stuff to help Ukrainian army. So I'm currently focusing on that, and basically of just purely like research projects on hold, and they're not moving. I tend to visit all my projects from time to time and look into some potential pull requests to maybe somehow I don't know, either accept them or just comment on them, and that's it. I do not like do any new library releases or anything like that. Also, like basically when the war started, I got this idea of creating the Stands with Ukraine open source project, which was like basically everyone in this space have contributing into it. So thanks for that. I think this is awesome, and it brought a lot of attention to this problem. So yeah, that's how I'm doing. My plans about it. I don't know if I have any new ideas. I'll definitely start working on it. Basically, like in the few recent days, I'm feeling like I'm just pumped with new, fresh ideas to work on, and actually, I had the chance to rebuild a part of my lab already, so I have everything to continue working, and I'm just trying to express all my all these ideas to find at least some to start at least a few projects just to capture those ideas, and it works. I mean, I feel good now. Thanks. Who's next?
Yeah, let me just say a few words because a lot of new speakers joined. Oh, excuse me, a lot of new listeners joined. So, folks, if you have any question, you can ask in my direct messages. I will ask our speakers, and you will hear the answer. So don't hesitate. Just write to me, and I will ask our speakers. Yep. Anyone else?
I can talk. So I work a lot on PNPM because competition is very tight, and as I said earlier, PNPM is really trending. In the last couple of months, a few of S&P 500 companies started using it, and it needs constant maintenance. Unfortunately, I'm the only core contributor. I really wish there were more people. Like I've worked on it for the last 6 years of my life, and my biggest fear now is that I will get drafted to the army, and I won't be able to maintain it for a couple of months, and that would destroy my huge like lifetime work, I guess, on this project. That's all.
Yeah, I think I understand the feelings of both of the speakers. As I have absolutely the same feeling. So first, I don't have time to work on my open source projects, and the second, that I want to build my business, and I'm really fear that my business can be ruined by this war. So we are hiring new people, we are getting new clients. So we are trying to do our best just to survive. And yeah, we even scaled our teams. So actually, the fun thing is that I lived with my QA in Uzhgorod. So we even had an office there. So I was in the bed, she was in the kitchen. So when we need to discuss something, we met there in the kitchen with the coffee. And so, yeah, the work really helped to focus on us on something important, to have our mission. And actually, as an open source developer, I felt myself absolutely useless in the context of war. So yeah, I would prefer to be a security engineer instead, because yeah, building things is not something that helps you on war. And by shifting your focus on something new, other really helps your mind to think on creating things, because the war will end eventually, and we need all the things to be rebuilt, recreated. And I really hope that my business and all my open source project will become this part of a new world then when the war ends. And I will do my best to keep them alive and keep myself, my family alive. And yeah, that's actually my take on this.
Talking about security engineers, I mean, Michael, yeah, I understand your feeling. For me personally, and my company, I don't feel that I'm useless. We're extremely useful. At the same time, this feeling helps a little bit, because all my free time, I don't have any free time anymore. I don't have any personal life anymore. I worked through all March without weekends. I had some days off just because I was not physically capable to work anymore. I was just lying on the bed, doing nothing. Just because, unfortunately, I have a physical body that unfortunately needs to rest, that unfortunately needs to eat, that unfortunately needs to sleep. And right now, all I do is I try to balance these three things: the needs of my physical body, yeah, unfortunately, the like the work I do, which is cybersecurity work, and a lot of volunteering that we are doing. Again, cybersecurity work, there is no there is no line anymore between like work and volunteering. I use my physical notebook as a planner, as a planning notebook. And previously I had different columns: this is work, this is my personal life, this is it's not like this anymore. It does a whole pages of a to-do list of the things I need to do. And sometimes I try to plan. Unfortunately, planning is not working right now, because at any point you can receive a call saying, okay, we found this and this, and it requires quick reaction. It requires some reaction. And there are a lot of people working right now on different projects. And one of them most important thing that I see is all about communication and collaboration, right? Because I've seen cases where different teams were doing basically the same work instead of kind of talk to each other and collaborate in that. So a lot of things that I'm doing right now is just connecting dots, connecting threads, like talking with people and connecting them, because sometimes it's more valuable that doing like that IC work at all. But yeah, the nice thing probably here is that that's extremely valuable and a lot of experience. And previously, if you're interested in cryptography, you've seen a joke called military grade encryption, or like military grade security. This is basically a marketing term many people add to their presentations, and other people that listen to this presentation usually don't take this seriously. But the fun right now is that we are military grade cryptographers and military grade security engineers right now. We are building these defense in depth protections right now, and this is real. And if we will be alive and sane, hopefully, we will get, after this war, we will get with so much valuable experience that we can share with others, like real war experience, uh, that we can share with others to prevent, to protect, to make their life easier. And this what makes me, this what pushes me to spend my time doing all these. Yeah. I will get quiet right
Great
now.
insight, by the way. Yeah,
Yeah,
really
very cool.
inspirational. Anyone else?
I can just quickly say that I also kind of set all of my open source work aside all this time, and I've been working on my personal projects on the side. But then I found a local volunteer who literally spends 100% of his time and money to help specific his friends, like his group of soldiers that's on the front line right now for the past, I think, like 2, maybe actually no, wait, they joined like 4 days after the war started. All of them volunteered. They're soldiers from 2014, so they have a lot of experience, and this man is helping them since day 4, and I've recently met him, so I kind of decided, well, my personal projects can wait, so I kind of started to take up more contract work so that I can give him, like, donate him more money, because he needs a lot of expensive things that are very hard to get funds for right now, given that's like it's what, like 4th months right now, and not that many people are still donating to this day, and so it's getting harder and harder to find uh, money for critical things that soldiers need on the front line. So yeah, I'm kind of focusing 100% on that, and like any few hours that I get left in the day, I try to spend on my projects if I still have the mental capacity to do so.
Volodymyr, you wanted to
Yeah,
say something?
yeah. Hey, everyone. I joined 40 minutes late to this conversation because it's a very special day for me. Today I celebrated my twin daughter's birthday. They turned 8 today, and we invited our close family
Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks.
Happy birthday!
Yeah, we invited close family members that are still in Kiev, and had this day of celebrations, a cake with candles and everything. So it was a really wonderful, like, piece of normalcy, and I really needed that. So that was really nice. Speaking about open source work and work in general, it's pretty interesting to, like, reflect on how our minds work in adverse circumstances, because remembering the first month after the large scale invasion, I remember being hyper productive, even though I had to flee with my family, take them to safety, live in some really bad, weird environments, like in cramped hotel room with the cat, and yeah, in an unknown city, and try to, like, understand what to do next, how to bring my family to safety next, and at the same time, I took on pretty difficult tasks at work. I could solve difficult problems. I participated in various meetings, and it felt like I worked pretty hard and successfully. And then I kind of started to slow down, and by the 3rd month, I started to feel like I'm no longer able to focus, like, and I realized that I'm experiencing burnout. So maybe this was some kind of adrenaline or something kicking in the first months. But if you like keep yourself in high gear all the time, eventually it catches up to you. So I increasingly started to feel like I can no longer work properly. I couldn't focus on anything. I couldn't do even like very simple tasks. So eventually I put my work on hold and took a break, a week off, which is currently continuing. So hopefully I'll take some rest and then come back fresh. But at the same time, even though I wasn't very effective at work in recent weeks, I felt really good about some of the open source projects that I maintain because they felt kind of like a safe space for me. So something that I know very intimately and closely, and something that's easy, that doesn't have like ambiguity and like a lot of dependency on other people, and it's much more easier to like to to handle this kind of work, like take on some small bug or like take on some small improvement in one of my projects. And this is how we were able to release a new version of Leaflet after 1.5 years of no releases. So somehow, like, it felt like open source is helping me like do something useful, even though I couldn't be as useful at my primary work. Even though my employer is very supportive of me and gives me space to recover and come back to difficult tasks later. So, but on the other hand, my family is back with me now, and it's much easier emotionally and mentally. They're here for a few weeks now, and it feels like life is getting back to a kind of normal for us. So yeah, that's it for me.
I have an announcement, a small announcement. I see a lot of people are trying to join as speakers to this space. As I said before, we will not accept requests to ask questions, requests to speak in this space. If you want to ask any question, use my direct messages, ask your question, and I will pass the questions to our speakers.
Just to clarify, this is because of the Twitter limit. It's not just that we don't want to hear from you. It's just something we have to do.
Twitter spaces are limited just to 10 speakers, so we should stay in this limit. Does anyone have something to add, or we can go on to questions? Okay, well, let's start with the first question. It goes like this. I don't want to donate to the army. I don't want to fuel the conflict. What humanitarian causes I should donate to? Anyone?
You can donate to me, and I will decide where the money goes.
That's
on a more serious note, I think that the best way to stop the conflict is actually to donate to the military, because at the end of the day, if you're donating to humanitarian aid, it will only help people who are already endangered by the war, but it will not stop new people from adding to the ranks.
I should add though that I kind of get this point because I also have had a couple of people I know reach out and basically asking the same question. I believe like they have their reasons. We have obviously like our side of this, but like people want to help, so I think we should still give them a way to help in their own. I don't want to say style, but like in their own way. I'm gonna be honest that yeah, I think like just most of us probably focusing on the military aid, but there are tons of organizations that are working strictly in the humanitarian space, providing like food, medicine, clothes. There are plenty of, I think, websites that people made, like with collections of links to those. I'm not sure if anyone has a link to those. I don't have any more. I used to have it like in the first month. That would be useful
I
to share.
think we have some links on our website, Stand with Ukraine PPA, right? In that repository that Volodymyr created.
Yeah, I would recommend to donate to medics, even for military medics, because medics do not fuel the war; they actually help people to survive. And if you understand that lots of Ukrainian soldiers were not soldiers before the war started, so they were regular people, they were IT guys, and they were just normal people. They never trained for this to happen, and so they just decided to go and to defend their country. So we do not treat the army and civil people in a very different way. So it's death of people anyway. So donating to medics, to hospitaliers especially, really saves people's lives. If the word military is not acceptable to you, you can donate to Ukrainian Red Cross. They will also help to save life. But I would not differentiate this part because everything is important here.
I should also know that there are two different organizations. So one is Ukrainian Red Cross, and the other one is just, I think, Red Cross, right, guys? And donate to the Ukrainian one because they're the ones who are here and they're the ones who are working their ass off every day. So that's very important to get right.
Yeah, I would like to add one link. There's a website built by our government. It's called war.ukraine.ua. There is a link to military causes and to the humanitarian causes as well. So you can decide what you want to donate to and just like send your money where it's appropriate for you. Also, I will add an attached tweet to the space in a minute. Stay tuned. Again, for new people who joined, if you have any question, ask it in my direct messages. I will ask these questions to our speakers. And we can move on to the next questions. Next question is, last time you guys said that there were enough men available for the military and you were not likely to be mobilized. Have that changed for the last 100 days?
The question for the guys.
Yeah, you have, as far as I know, you have a story to tell on this matter.
Actually, this is that's not actually what really happens in our country. It's true that there are enough people, but in some regions, like where Zoltan is located now, they have their plan to complete mobilization, so they are looking for some men on the streets to and ask them to join army. But it's usually not normal to all other regions of Ukraine. So I would say that there is a chance, a probability, but to be honest, there is no good reasoning for this action because most of the work that we as untrained personnel can do in the army is to dig the ground, maybe shoot one times and For instance, I have a friend who is now she joined army in the very first days, and all this time until after the Kiev was liberated, she's digging ground somewhere in Kherson region, and nothing more of that. So basically, for me, the most terrible situation in mobilization, it's not about losing my life or losing my I don't know whatever, or learning something new there. It's about losing time and just seeing how my projects are dying. So this is the most terrible for me. So um, I that's why I'm not going to army now.
I can also add to that. Fucking scared of this. I think it's totally natural. But to this point, I think I'm just kind of like if they call, I'm gonna answer. Like that's pretty much it. Like we are all like speakers in this space. Like we are all here in Ukraine. We are not going anywhere. Not today, not tomorrow, not in a month. So we are staying here. And if we are needed, we will not hesitate.
Also, another opportunity to assist the army and different agencies, let's call them this, well, different branches, right? Because Ukrainian army is huge complex structure. We just call it Ukrainian army. In reality, there are like more than, I don't know, 30, 50 different groups under different commands. So there are all the things that can be done. Right now, one of the opportunities to basically assist instead of joining the army as a conscript, whatever, as a soldier, you can volunteer with a group of volunteers to do some special things, like some specific things. Of course, this requires some skills, and I know software developers groups that are creating some software for these different like branches of the army, and of course, you know, a lot of different initiatives with drones, with these flying small like planes kind of things, unarmed play and okay, you got the idea. Small planes. And yeah, right now it looks like a win-win situation because you can use your skills for some work you're skilled, you have experience in, right? And at the same time, you help the army, you help your country to defend itself. But the caveat is that it's not a job, it's a volunteering, so no money, obviously. Like, I don't think that right now many people in Ukraine want to join the army because of money. I don't think so. So no money, no some kind of protections because you're volunteering, but you have this nice feeling that you're doing something good.
Let's move on to the next question, and it's don't political banners violate the code of conduct of open source projects? What do you think?
I think I can answer. So the idea of this project to add banners to open source, like to my open source project, was like basically a few days after the war started. I just wanted to raise awareness about it, right? So I'm a Ukrainian developer and I'm hit by the war, right? So it also impacts my open source projects as well. And it's not okay. I mean, like all the people suffering and all these like really bad and ugly things happening here. So I thought, okay, I can just share the word, and me as a sole open source developer, I can do whatever I can. I mean, whatever I want. All the codes that I'm writing are just text, right? So, by the way, all the licensing in the open source software, like it's also based on the text. Like what you have, what you write is considered to be some kind of, you know, like a book or just poem or anything like that. So what you do is just type in text, right? So with all this documentation that I write for my projects, I decided to share some information about the war, and I wanted to centralize it. So in this situation, like basically I have a bunch of projects, like maybe a dozen of them. So I wanted to have a single place where I can explain what's going on and where to look for the information, and maybe to read some advices on of what to do in this situation. And then to link all my projects to this single page via some kind of link, which, well, later became a banner. And I see absolutely no violation of anything. It's basically, this is the realization of freedom of speech, where the author of the project can do whatever he wants. And if it hurts someone, I mean, who can be hurt by those banners? Only like just all the mind-washed, brainwashed Russians that are against it. I mean, against Ukraine. Those people are basically offended. So why should we care? I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I also see very often people who got offended by a Ukrainian flag or any words of support to Ukrainians, and they take any excuse to justify their like pure hate to any Ukrainian symbol. What actually is the issue is that people just don't want to hear about the war. They are irritated by it, and they are mind washed by Russian propaganda, I guess. I don't know. And they are just hiding behind arguments. That's my point of view.
I want to also add that some people think that open source should be behind politics. All I want to say is, if I'm forced to keep politics out of my project, I refuse to do any open source stuff. I just don't want it in my life then.
Yep. Besides, oh, sorry.
Yeah, just wanted to not agree on this point. I am the person who would like to keep the politics out of my open source. But if I die from Russian missiles, it's not a politics anymore. And I have a chance to die of Russian missiles. So it's just a message to all the users of my project that, hey, this is something not right that's going in the open source society, and we need to do something about it, and do whatever you can to support my life and the project you are using. So it's war, it's not politics. Just it's big difference between this.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, I just follow it because it's all about our lives and about lives of our like loved ones, and it's all like just crushing. So I don't think like many people have lived through a war, right? And I certainly not wish anyone to have that experience. But we're in this situation not because of our will, or I don't know, or we're just in this situation because we have these just crazy neighbor that decided to invade Ukraine and to rape our citizens and to burn our houses, and it is all happening with us just because I know we have our national identity, and that's it. It's because we have a nation at all, and it's not okay, first of all, and secondly, there is a huge gap between politics and a war. Like, I don't know, like maybe if someone invades your house with some guns and shoots your children, for example, and then says, okay, give me all your money and give off your house and stuff like that. So how is it related to politics? I don't know. It's just an invasion. It's nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with even Putin. It's about Russians that are supporting the war. So keep that in mind. Thanks.
They should the people.
Sorry, go ahead.
So the people that are against this, they call the war politics. That's why I was calling it politics. You might think otherwise.
I think this term is a bit overloaded, and sometimes people use it if they don't like something and it's the closest term they can come up with. But yeah, I agree with all of the sentiments. And my observation is that people who sort of complain about seeing any mention of Ukrainian stuff, they were often raised in a Russia-like environment. So it's basically an environment which is Ukrainophobic for many centuries. And I believe that many people don't realize that it is, but it really is. And they're also just supporters of this regime. And sometimes people from other countries also get infected by this Russianism. Unfortunately, propaganda works, and it works well, and it works even better in some environments. So I wouldn't treat this issue seriously when somebody tries to minimize the visibility of the genocides that's being committed. They are basically actively supporting the terrorists, and that's it. Period.
One more comment, maybe. So, for example, as a maintainer, like the main guy behind those banners all over the GitHub, right? Well, like the day the war ends, probably the banner will change. It will, I don't know, change to some blossoming sunflowers or something like that. We are not, you know, we are not running politics on GitHub. We were just raising awareness, and I think like I'm just, you know, I'm just thinking about it. The banner can be updated independently, or it can be you know, updated for all of the projects that use it. So we'll keep track of it, and whenever we have like a more important message to deliver to all those involved or supporting Ukraine, I think we can find a way to well, to bring this message to all the community. And banners helps us to do that.
Yeah, I just wanted to add my own 50 cents to this, is that usually when people talk about politics in this context, they are talking in like with assumptions that are multiple point of views. Nothing is black and white, and there are like different perspectives on those issues, and you shouldn't choose a side. But in this particular case, especially if we're talking about an open source project that is maintained by a person from Ukraine, they don't and cannot see it as anything but black and white, because at the end of the day, their homes are being destroyed, their loved ones are being killed, you know, their entire national identity is being erased, and there's just no other perspective that you can look at this. And as such, that stops being a political issue and turns into a personal issue, an issue of identity, an issue of survival. So when you go to, or like generally, you, not anyone in particular, when somebody goes to a repository and says that, you know, having political banners like that is this like a sign of bad sportsmanship or whatever as far as open source goes, I don't think those kind of comments should be treated seriously, because the people that say them come from a position with a lot of privilege to be able to ignore those issues in the first place. And those maintainers from Ukraine that put on those banners have no privilege like that. And unfortunately for us, we have to use our voices and our influence to raise awareness that this is still happening. You know, the projects you're using in your company, maybe for your personal projects as well, that depend on those open source projects, they are built by people that can die at any point by a Russian missile strike. And that's important to keep in mind.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Again, I have to remind you, new people, that if you want to ask any question, you can ask in my direct messages. Twitter Spaces are limited to just 10 speakers, and we have to stay in a limit. We can move on to the next question, and it sounds like this. How can you work when your city or country is being attacked? I believe this is one of the things really difficult to do. Don't you need to use a weapon or something to protect your lives instead of cutting? My personal answer to this is it's not an utter mess all around the country. There are more hotter places in Ukraine, and there are more safe places. I guess all of us, all of the speakers, are in relative safety right now. The most dangerous thing that can happen to us is a rocket strike at the moment, but at the moment there is no air alarms in our regions where we are staying. Does anyone have anything to add?
Yeah, from
Okay.
sorry, please.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say that you take a weapon if you know what to do with the weapon. And yeah, lots of people were really motivated to learn everything from the scratch in the very first days. But I didn't feel that I can learn all this new stuff. And I can't, because I was never trained to do this. I never felt any passion to anything military. When I played paintball, I was always killed. When I played laser tags with my son, he always killed me. So I really felt that I'm really miserable if I'm in army. So current state of war, it's war of artillery. So it's war of big machines, the people that can work with these big machines. So the war becomes more professional. And with another man with a gun, he doesn't change these things here. So and that's important. So we have pretty big country with a lot of population, so not everyone really needed there. And again, it's a war of technique, and so that's why we need support of West. So their weapons are sent here, and there is barely we can do with just guns in our hands.
Yeah, I also wanted to add that I agree definitely what you guys said. And the first 3 weeks, I literally spent nothing but just checking the news all the time and hanging out in Telegram. Like my iPhone screen report said, like I think 7 hours per day. So yeah, like I think maybe like most of us did that in the beginning. But the thing is, that's not helping anyone. Yeah, like you can spend your time that and say that, well, like the war's going on, so how can I work and do literally anything? But again, like that's not helpful. Like you gotta find something uh to play your part, to play your role, and to help at least one person out there. That's how you, I think, move on. And that's what I've personally been trying to do. So yeah, like as long as you have a goal, as long as you help people, you have the motivation to work and continue this fight, even like in another dimension, not military one. So yeah, like I still like know at least several people in my close circle that to this day, like 3 months afterwards, they still do what I did like in the beginning. They just look at the news all the time. They just do nothing but talk, and yeah, that's just not productive, and that's not moving us anywhere. So at one point, sooner or later, like all of us have to stop that unproductive thing and find where to help and how.
So yes, it looks like we cannot do anything with bare hands, but of course, like all of us, like all of the men between 18 and 65 in Ukraine are, you know, they might need to go to war. I mean, they might be recruited, and the danger is that, like, basically Russia has a lot more like all those artillery systems and heavy weapons and rockets than Ukraine. And in this current situation, we still need a lot of supplies of high technology weapons, drones, and artillery systems and heavy weapons to resist. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of it in-house, and we don't have a lot of production of these things. But it means that Ukrainian nation needs those, like, just needs to buy those things, or needs to be provided with all these heavy weapons to survive. And that's why we are begging for help. And this is like, today it's more important than ever. Like, basically, we do have some success. We showed that Ukraine is willing to resist, that we are not giving up in three days, you know, what they were talking about or thinking about like previously. So we need to somehow raise awareness even more. We need to call every senator in USA. We need to change minds of some politicals in Europe. We need to maybe to turn direction of politics in some countries to make this is where war becomes political. It's just about negotiations and about, like, fighting for some, you know, for some ideas. And in this sense, Ukraine needs huge support right now. And we show how we identify ourselves. We do not identify ourselves as Russians. That's clear for everyone, I guess, now. And that's it. So the major point here is that Ukraine is still begging for support. I mean, military systems and all these artillery systems. This is how we protect our lives. If we're not supplied with heavy weapons, Russia will proceed, and, like, it will be like Ukraine is huge, and they are. I'm talking about Russians are willing to kill a lot of people here, and if you're not provided with heavy weapons, they will just fulfill their plan, and that's it. You just need to realize it.
Yeah, let's move on to the next question, and it's hi. I wanted to ask if they if you have any expectations from other developers around the world, meaning can we start a cyber war against Russian government, or stop working on Russian projects, or stop working remotely with Russian companies?
That's lovely.
Yeah, you
because
should.
I
You
think
should.
the, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, short answer is yeah. You should stop working with Russian companies and paying money to Russian businesses and Russian projects. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that person perfectly answered their own question, and I think if we're talking about open source community, those banners do make a difference, whether some people like it or not. But I think they do serve a great purpose. So if you can include that banner on your project, that'd be amazing. We'd all appreciate it. And we definitely notice and see all of the projects and repositories and websites doing that. That's absolutely wonderful and feels great. And yeah, just like you said yourself, basically the key is to stop sponsoring Russian economy and stop working with Russian companies. That'd be fantastic.
I just want to add that I wouldn't limit this to businesses that are registered in Russia. Sometimes the Russians live outside of Russia, and some of them tend to broadcast the same propaganda, which is harmful. And if somebody does that, maybe don't support them.
I have to add that there is actually some Russians that are kind of ashamed to be Russian companies, and they're hiding behind some tax havens like Cyprus or some Caribbean islands, and they say that they are, for example, a Cypriot company, but actually the owner is Russian, the capital is Russian, their development offices are in Russia, and the only Cypriot is just registration. Yeah, there is this kind of companies. Okay, we can move on to the next question. Is there a website or any way for developers from other countries to find open source projects that are being maintained by Ukrainians that we could help with? Short answer to this question is a tweet attached to this space, or my latest tweet in my profile. There is a list of open source projects made or maintained by Ukrainians. You can check it out. It's hosted on GitHub. Go on.
And also GitHub has a category showing the Ukrainian repositories as well.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move on to the next questions. What is your perceptions of how other countries are reacting to the war? And I don't mean in Twitter where blah, 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 blah. I mean the regular person on the street. Do you keep the track of what parliaments in other countries decide about Ukraine, or that deep respect from Western corners of Europe for all of you? As I understand, the question is how do we keep track of our allies, and how do we perceive other countries? Do you have anything?
Well, I think fortunately there is not much tracking needed for that stuff because it looks like all the same countries that were supporting Ukraine from the very first days are still supporting Ukraine to this day, and all of the ones that didn't still don't. So, and the list is fortunately for us is pretty short. I mean the list of governments. I don't want to say countries. I want to say governments who don't seem to be interested in ending this war quickly. The list is pretty short, and I think we all know the answer. Who's in that list? But yeah, I think like personally speaking for myself, like I'm focusing on the tens and maybe hundreds, not hundreds, but a lot of countries around the world who are doing amazing stuff every day, every week, every month to help us. So yeah, I'm personally, I'm gonna speak for myself. I'm personally staying in touch with that topic day to day, and but it's pretty static at this point.
Yeah, from a personal perspective, Poland does a lot, and if there's any Polish person in this space, I want to personally thank you. Also, Baltic states, United Kingdom, United States, yeah, Czech Republic, and yeah,
Spain,
that's actually Spain,
Great Britain,
actually,
Portugal, Italy,
yeah,
Greece recently.
Slovakia.
Yeah. Yeah. So that,
Oh, in Australia.
this,
Let's not forget. Far, but not
yeah.
far from the topic.
Yeah, great point. That was the last question. Thank you everyone for participating. Thank you for listening. The recording of the space will be published on YouTube. I will post a link. Follow our speakers. And let me know if you are interested in a follow-up space. Thank you everyone again. See you.
Yep. Thanks everyone. This means a lot to us that you all came to listen to what's going on. Thank you. And thanks to everyone from the speaker team.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for joining.
Goodbye.
Bye.